And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Next Round Sports. This is Chris Porter here with my partners in crime, Jeff Amos and Caleb Culver. How you doing tonight, gentlemen?
Doing good.
Perfect. Glad everyone is here as we're going into, what is it, week 16? No, week 15.
Week 15. No, week 16.
Week 16
that's
of
right. We
the
got 8.
NFL season. And wow, we get to finally say, and first time in a long time, all of our teams got to win this last week.
Mm-hmm.
That is
very true.
A long time.
But we got it.
Mm-hmm.
So tonight, I'll go ahead and take the honors to start off with the Cowboys getting the 30-14 win over Carolina. And
domination.
It was domination, and this was a game that, okay, you kind of, as a Cowboy fan, as I've been saying all season, I wanted the Cowboys to lose them all, rub it in Jerry's nose. This is a game that they tried to sit there and bait me on and going, okay, yeah, they can do that. Since Carolina was actually favored in this game, the first game they've been favored in 2 years, and that was a complete miscall on that because the Cowboys came out and the defense completely shut Young down and the entire Carolina offense.
6 sacks and 4 takeaways. Dominant.
Yeah. Bryce Young is slowly realizing that this is not Alabama anymore, and he doesn't have all the time in the world, and he's going to be forced to make quick decisions, not only because it's the NFL, but also too, your offensive line really sucks, as you alluded to, Caleb. 6 sacks on the day, and I know this was 30-14, but this could have been a hell of a lot worse because the Cowboys are on the verge of making this 17-0. Cooper Rush fumbles the football and then score a long touchdown to make it 10-7, and then they just turned it around or just kept the momentum going into the second half that they got in the first. That what I guess I'm trying to say is that touchdown did not stall the Cowboys' momentum that they had up to that point. Dallas was just clearly the better team offensively and defensively. And again, Rico Dowdle with another huge day.
He had a very good game. And
he's the first undrafted player to have 3 straight games of 100 yards, I think, since Adrian Foster. Something crazy. Whatever the old Texas running back guy is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was good. I liked Foster. I had him on my fantasy team, I think, years ago.
But yeah. I mean, this is the Panthers, so
it is the
they
Panthers.
Made Caleb Williams look good. So
it's nothing to ride home about. It's, hey, you beat teams you're supposed to beat. Carolina's a terrible team. It is what it is. Hey, the defense came out. They showed what they can do. And yeah, hey, good. You got to win against a team that's a terrible team. And hey, good for you. You lost. Basically put yourself down to as they are now, ranked with the 14th draft pick overall. Yay! You got a worse draft. Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, me and Jeff were kind of talking earlier about how many teams suck this year.
There's
like 8 or 10 teams that have about 4 losses at least right now.
Oh, it's bad. It's
Tankathon is on.
And talking about bad teams, we'll go ahead and use that as a quick segue over to the team the Ravens beat, which is probably the worst team in the NFL, the New York Giants, with Tommy DeVito finally getting in there.
Well, he wasn't in there long, unfortunately. He got a concussion. So the Giants were down to their 4th string QB this year. As you know, they put Dan Jones and then waived him and cut him. And then Tommy DeVito started, and Drew Lock got injured. He was an emergency only type situation. Tommy DeVito was starting. Like I said, got the concussion. Tim Boyle for the Giants stepping up went 12 for 24, 123 with a touchdown and interception. So not a horrible game for Mr. Boyle, but it just shows you how far the Giants have gone down, that they're on their fourth effing string QB. It's basically amazing. The Ravens got back-to-back buys. That's like just how dominant this game was, and it was needed, because I'll get into in a second here as why that's needed. Lamar Jackson went 290 yards, 5 touchdowns, 65 yards rushing. Bateman and him had a great connection, 2 touchdowns. If you had him on your fantasy team, congratulations. But man, Derrick Henry only getting 14 carries. I know we're trying to save him, but at the same time, I don't think you can just flip that switch in the offense. Like, okay, we're going to change our offense now. We're going to run 20 times a game or 25 times a game. I don't know if it's going to be that easy to do if we want to have him do his thing in the playoffs. So, I mean, I would like to see more carries for Derrick Henry. But on the side note, too, Justin Tucker, 5 for 5 in his extra points. So good for him.
He's back.
Excellent.
Yep. But yeah, the Ravens, this does start a crazy slate. The Chiefs and the Ravens both have this, where they've got to play 3 games in 11 days. So this is going to be a heck of a little mini run here for the Ravens. I'm glad that they're going to be on national TV and I get to watch them a lot, but at the same time, this could wear them down pretty hard, I think, or it's going to be pretty tough on these players. So hopefully we don't see any injuries come out of it.
That's what you're training for. That's what you're training for. That's what training camp's for, is get the body ready for this, for the long haul.
Yeah, it's shortened training camp now, though. But yes.
Yep, that's what it is. You train all year long. No excuses.
I agree. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm just saying, like, it's going to be tough.
This is their
job.
As
that field being, Kyle Van Noy was talking about how bad that field is too. After the words, he's like, I played there a lot when we played the Jets. Like, it's a horrible, shitey field. It's a horrible field. So hopefully they're getting the recovery in and they'll be ready to go on this Saturday.
Well, I do have to say, as bad as the Giants are, I don't think they get as much shit as the Jets get, because the Jets have just been putrid again this year. But it seems like
the Jets were like, it's Super Bowl or bust.
Well, they were, because Aaron Rodgers is now healthy, and then everything blew up in their face, especially after they got Devontae Adams, and still everything. Now they did get the win. They got the win this week. They're playing Jacksonville. I mean, you were falling into a win at that point. Although Devontae Adams, 198 yards and 2 touchdowns. Great game for him. If you had him on your fantasy team, you're very happy about that. But it just seems like the Giants have been so bad for so long that it's like they don't get the hate the Jets get, or it just seems
it's kind of like the old Buffalo Bills mafia used to be. Like, we know we suck. We're just here for a good fucking time. That's kind of where the Giants fans are, I feel like.
Yeah, pretty much.
I just think the Jets were, I think what's been a major disappointment for them, in addition to the obvious Aaron Rodgers situation, but Breece Hall hasn't had the year people anticipated that he was going to have. People thought Breece Hall could be the best running back in the league this year. And
with that revamped offensive line, I mean, he's been okay. I've got him on one of my fantasy teams, but yeah, he hasn't taken the league by storm like you expect your first round pick to be.
Injury bug bit him again, and that's been something that's really hindered him in his career.
You want to talk about too somebody not living up? I know he's got Aaron Rodgers, but Garrett Wilson. I mean, we've seen this guy rack up 1,000-yard seasons with jokes of QBs before.
Zach Wilson.
This is all you can do.
Next.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like he was going crazy before Devontae Adams got there. He wasn't.
No.
He was making some crazy catches, but he wasn't taking over games like everybody expected him should. And especially once Devontae Adams came over in that trade, how everyone said, well, now Devontae Adams is the clear number 1. Garrett Wilson should be able to be freed up playing on those lesser tiered cornerbacks, because who are you going to guard at that point? And you just haven't seen it just yet. and then you try. Okay, then you go. Well, then you go next year where they've had some time together. Yeah, but you're going with another year on Aaron Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
This is supposed to be like a 2-year window.
There's no chemistry whatsoever with Garrett Wilson and Aaron Rodgers, and I think that's the main reason why this trade took place is because in Aaron Rodgers' fucked up delusional mind, he had no wide receivers to throw to because he does not consider Garrett Wilson a great receiver.
Yeah, that's highly probable. It's not good.
Rodgers is all in his own head. So
yeah,
but anyway,
well, at least the Jets fan can watch the documentary now about him.
We're done talking about the Jets. Done talking about the Jets. Done enough of that. All right. So get over to Jeff's team, Cincinnati. Hard fought win there against the Tennessee Titans, 37-27, with Burrow throwing 2 interceptions and losing a fumble. What the F, Jeff?
Mm-hmm. Although they ran away with it early.
It's never a good time to say hard fought win against the Titans, but yeah, I mean, really how and this game started off as a struggle too. Joe Burrow first drive throws an interception, which immediately turns into 7 points for the Titans. Then the Bengals respond with a touchdown of their own, but then the Titans come marching back and make it 14-7. And they're very lucky that the Titans did not cash in on Chase Brown's fumble, and that's at the end of the first quarter. So I think that another factor too was the Titans. Will Levis, once again, who's arguably the worst starting quarterback in the NFL.
They got benched.
Interceptions and was benched for Mason Rudolph, who honestly, when Mason Rudolph came in, the rest of the game, the Titans were so much smoother on offense. And once again, which has been a theme for the Bengals this season, you see flashes of brilliance on offense, and then you're left dumbfounded on some drives, whether it be their offensive line being terrible, whether it be Chase Brown not being able to hold on to the football, or whether it be the play calling of Zach Taylor. I don't know if y'all saw this, but there's a heated exchange between Zach Taylor and Joe Burrow on the sidelines that Fox caught. And Burrow said he was just frustrated at the inconsistency on offense, but man, it looked like he was really pissed off at Zach Taylor. And I think and rightfully so, there's been too many times this year where, I mean, to me, with this offense against a team like the Titans, you could have dropped 50 points on this team. The Lions did, and there's no reason why the Bengals couldn't have dropped 50 on this team either. And then also, too, the defense continues to struggle. Again, you made Mason Rudolph look like a legitimate starting quarterback, giving up 27 points. But yes, you got the win. You covered the point spread. So, and I guess in that sense, you won and exceeded expectations, but still a very, very sloppy game, which I feel that against a former Bengal team would have won that game probably by 3 or 4 touchdowns, not by 10 points.
The other game from this past week that I wanted to bring up was the shootout in Motown with Buffalo getting the 48-42 win over Detroit. And wow, huge quarterback play from Jared Goff and Jared Allen in this game. And unfortunately, Montgomery running back for the Detroit Lions, knocked out and out for the season, leaving them only with Jahmyr Gibbs and taking out one head of that two-headed monster.
Yeah, injuries keep piling up on the Lions, it seems like, this year, which is very unfortunate for them. But speaking of self-inflicted wounds, what is that onside kick for, Dan Campbell? Why did you do that onside kick then? I don't understand. It's like you had the momentum, and then all of a sudden you decided to just kick it. And then, of course, Buffalo scores. I mean, apparently, since Josh Allen has proposed to Haley Seinfeld, he's got like 740 passing yards, 150 rushing yards, and 10 touchdowns, and no turnovers. Like, he's just been crazy, phenomenally good. So you're giving this guy a short field? Like, it's like Dan Campbell is costing these guys games now, and that is not good.
He's overthinking it. He's absolutely overthinking it. Well, maybe we get that here. We throw something different to him. We can change it. That doesn't happen anymore in today's NFL because after this, with this season, with the new change to the kickoff rules, you can't do an onside kick anymore and expect any success. It's not going to happen. The kickoff rules are completely different. There's no reason to do it. The only reason you do it now is for a last-ditch effort at the end of the game because you're down. You just scored when you're down 10. And you're just trying to get the ball back because it's a field goal and you got to score a touchdown. No, it's not. Onside kicks are done unless they change the rules back to the way they used to be. No, it's done. There's no reason to do that. And trying to sneak one in and you're not doing like the Saints did against the back in the Super Bowl they won years ago. That's not happening right now. This is a different NFL. You can't do that anymore. You're in your own head. You're overthinking it. Stop being cute, Dan Campbell. Stop being cute. Yeah. Just go out and run the damn ball.
Yeah, as the meme goes, run the damn ball.
Yes.
Oh, goodness. I mean, your QB can throw 5 touchdowns and lose the game, but he can also throw 5 interceptions and win a game against the Texans.
Yes.
Like, it's what the hell?
They need to revisit these onside kick rules, by the way, because I don't understand. Like, I don't understand why you have to declare to begin with, and then it could only be done in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
So there's no surprise factor anymore, and still there's really no.
It's all done in the name of player safety, but that's the problem. Is that when are you've neutered the game? You've neutered that portion of the game. It's gone. There's no reason for it now. Why you like that? It's just ceremonial what you're doing at that point. There's no reason for it. It's stupid. Put it back to the way it was, or just take it out completely and just after you score a touchdown, you just give the ball to the other team and they start at the 20-yard line.
Yeah. Yeah, because a lot of people don't like the kickoff rules. Although now the kickers are finding how to kick it into that little small zone. You've got a few more returns that have happened lately than you did at the start of the year.
It's dumb. I hate it.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of what Dan Campbell is thinking, and again, I don't agree with his logic, but I guess he just felt the only way he just felt, and probably rightfully so, that his defense could not stop anybody, and then the only way to somehow win this game is continue to keep getting the ball. Again, I don't agree with the onside kick, but I mean, I'm just saying that's probably the only reason why he was thinking doing an onside kick in that situation.
That may be true, but still, it's just what the fuck, man.
Yes.
All right.
Well, I do want to thank the Eagles for beating the Steelers. So we have a chance to win the division, but we'll see.
Yep, that was a beatdown. Like the Steelers were not even in that game at all.
Oh no.
Not even close. And is it to the point now to where we think Philadelphia is the best team in the NFC at this point? Just due to all the injuries that the Lions have had?
Yeah,
Montgomery.
Until I see how Gibbs does a full game by himself, I'm still going to say the Lions at the moment. Because I think Gibbs could be good. But if he goes out there and kind of lays an egg, then I'm going to be like, yeah, the Eagles are probably your top team in the NFC right now.
And really, to me, you take Saquon Barkley off the Eagles, and they're not where they're at right now. They're a middle.
Oh, no, for sure.
It's just because Saquon Barkley has stayed healthy and has played to the quality level that everyone has always thought he would be able to play at.
Yeah, when he has a legitimate offensive line and a decent quarterback and receiving core.
Mm-hmm.
Decent is being very generous to Jalen Hurts this year. He's not been decent at all. He's not been very good at all.
Your receiving core is good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, when they're not fighting their quarterback.
Yeah,
right.
What's so weird is like Sirianni is almost like encouraging that.
Yeah, he loves the fucking chaos man because it takes the eyes away from him.
He's the stereotypical guy a Philly fan wants as their coach.
Yes,
that's what he is.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he is. Well, anyways, we'll just go ahead and get into next week's games. On Saturday, your Ravens get the Steelers coming into town, where, as you just said, got a chance to possibly take the lead in the AFC North. You get a big win here.
And TJ Watt had an ankle injury, so maybe he won't be in this game. We'll have to see. Patrick Queen's homecoming to Baltimore too. As he said, he's expecting a lot of more FUs when he returns.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I was like, yeah, you can expect it. You might get like a little clap like the first time then like every time they call your name, it's gonna be like, boo, fuck this guy. The rest of the game. I mean, Russell Wilson, I think, has kind of come down to earth a little bit. And this defense that was like for the first 10 weeks, like basically the worst defense in football, has all of a sudden morphed into like pretty good defense, like top 3, give or take, over the last couple of weeks. So, I mean, if this offense can keep chugging the way it does, I mean, obviously the Steelers defense is going to be a juggernaut to go against. So, I mean, we'll see how that offense goes. But like I said, hopefully we can get Derrick Henry some more touches as well, and Justin Tucker can like make all his field goals.
Yeah, I think the issue with Derrick, I don't really blame I wouldn't want to waste a bunch of touches on Derrick Henry either in that Giants game. Like, I understand that you want to be fresh and continue to.
Yeah. And like we said, you got 11 games or 3 games in 11 days, excuse me. So maybe that is why.
Right. And then, well, also too, like you alluded to, it helps essentially add 2 bye weeks, one with the bye week, and then the Giants, and then you'll have like 2 weeks to prepare essentially for the Browns, or a full week and a half.
Yep. And the Steelers are coming to Baltimore, so we got home field advantage as well. So I'm hoping we can win this and get the division.
I think this is a must-win game for Baltimore, considering that Baltimore lost to Pittsburgh earlier in the season, and Steelers having a 1-game better record than them. This is a must-win game for Baltimore if they want to win the division. Critical game for the division.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, this is basically division on the line right here.
I mean, this determines the division.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Very, very true.
Yep. And being on a Saturday, definitely looking forward to seeing that. Saturday on Fox.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then the Cowboys this week will be taking on Tampa Bay Buccaneers, getting Baker Mayfield coming to town. Out of all of our teams, we're the only ones not in a divisional game. Tampa Bay has looked good as
football,
with Mike Evans being hot, and just have to see how that goes. I fully expect Tampa Bay to beat the Cowboys. I mean, the defense has been looking better, but like I said, they looked really, really good against Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers. So coming in against a more established quarterback, a very good front end receiver, Tampa Bay should get this win. Tampa Bay has had problems, so I don't think it'll be a complete blowout by any means because they've got injuries as well too. But Tampa Bay should get this win, and
they're
not
highly favored too.
too much. There's not much to talk about this game. Just go ahead and put the nails on the coffin. But then your Bengals will get the divisional game against the Browns. And
dirty Browns.
Third starting quarterback this season.
Yep.
Cleveland had 5 quarterbacks last year. This year they're going to have 3, or at least 3 for now at the moment. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, he was one of those 5 quarterbacks last year. He's going to be quarterback number 3 this season. I would anticipate him having a pretty solid game, considering everyone else against the Bengals defense has had a solid game as well, with the exception of Deshaun Watson. I think the key in this game, I think it's going to be a pretty low-scoring game, actually, kind of similar to the first matchup. However, I think it's just as simple as looking at the quarterback and saying Joe Burrow versus Dorian Thompson-Robinson, regardless of how flawed the Bengals can be defensively, and regardless of how the play calling can, from the offensive standpoint, can be head scratching. I just don't see how Cleveland can match point for point with Cincinnati. So I think Cincinnati is going to go 7-8 and will continue to lose spots in the draft.
All right.
Yeah.
Another game. Look through all the other games this week going on. The other big one I saw was going to be Philly and Washington. And Philly, the way they're playing, I think they're going to walk away with the division, but Washington is the only other team giving them a close chance. And this is a game Washington could really, really need if they want any chance at winning the NFC East.
For sure. They're 3 games back right now, so this would at least help them make up 1 game in that division race. But we'll have to see. I don't know if Washington can do it. Washington has cooled off mightily since their hot start.
They really have. The defense has not looked as sharp as they did earlier in the season.
Yeah, I think people may have gotten the cues from Jaden Daniels and what he's doing as well. So, I mean, we'll see. I mean, Commanders looked okay in the last game.
Barely. Because
who cares if you win ugly, Jets?
Against a Saints team, a reeling Saints team with a backup quarterback.
Yeah, very true.
And so, I mean, when you look at, to me, I think the Commanders, I think ultimately with their schedule being a 4th place schedule, and just what's left in front of them after the Eagles, they had the Falcons at home, then they go to Dallas, with Dallas having nothing to play for other than being a spoiler. But if you look back at Washington, ever since they killed Carolina, they beat Chicago on a miracle Hail Mary. They barely beat the Giants. They lost to Pittsburgh, lost to the Eagles, lost to Dallas at home.
Rising.
And the only time that they looked good was not this past week, 2 days ago, but the week prior against the Titans, who arguably is one of the worst teams.
Yeah, who officially announced Will Levis will be benched heading into next week.
Correct. Mason Rudolph will be the starter, but I just think if you're Washington at this point, I just think you want a solid performance against a good team. It's not even necessary. I mean, yeah, you would like.
Yeah, it'll be a playoff show or test for sure.
But I mean, I just think you want to have just some semblance of a solid performance against a good team. And I haven't really seen any positive play, with the exception of the Titans game in the past month and a half from Washington. So I just think, again, not necessarily a W is required, but I think you definitely want to have a solid performance.
Well said. Well said.
And as you're bringing up quarterback changes, big one came through right before we got started broadcasting tonight, that Michael Penix Jr. will now be starting for the Atlanta Falcons for the remainder of the season. And really, this one kind of threw me for a loop because I know Cousins hasn't looked great the last 4 or 5 games, but you're a game back from Tampa Bay for the NFC South, excuse me. And to throw it to an inexperienced rookie quarterback here when you do have a seasoned, playoff
the playoffs, yeah.
quarterback. To me, this is a complete out of left field. Like, this seems like a coup from the other players that Cousins lost the locker room. That's what it seems like to me.
Yeah, I agree. It's weird. It's like Tankathon, like we mentioned earlier, is back on. I mean, he was 11 for 17 with the 112 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. I mean, he was fairly close to his receivers when he was throwing the ball. So it's not like he was like just missing people by yards and miles and miles. And like you said, he hasn't been horrible. So I'm not 100% sure why they're making this trade, but I mean, the writing was on the wall since draft day. So
I don't even think it's an issue of the draft. Obviously Kirk Cousins has struggled these past 5 games. He has not looked as good as he did at the start of the season. But yeah, you're still only 1 game behind, and you swept Tampa. So if you tie Tampa, you were the team that's going to get in the playoffs. To me, I wouldn't have made this change until the playoffs were completely out of the balance. And to me, I think I agree that something else must be going on other than just the subpar performance from Kirk Cousins. And I don't think it's necessarily the pressure of putting Penix in just because he drafted a made overall. I think there's something in the locker room that's going on right now to where Cousins, I don't know if he's completely lost this team, but something is off in Atlanta right now. And because I don't think this change would have been made simply based on subpar performance.
All right. Yeah. Well, unless you guys have anything else you wanted to bring up,
I got one last thing actually to bring up.
All right.
The injury to Patrick Mahomes, high knee sprain. Like I mentioned earlier, the Chiefs are doing the same thing. I know. They're not sure if he's starting. They have full confidence in Wentz, who would go if Mahomes didn't. But you've got 3 games in 11 days, just like the Ravens. So, I mean, do you rest him maybe 1 game, let him play on Christmas, and then you got like another week in between there, so you get him ready for the playoffs? Because the Chiefs are Super Bowl or bust this year. That's just what they are. They're that kind of every year now. It's like the Cowboys of the 90s. It's Super Bowl or bust for the Chiefs. Mm-hmm. Or do you just sit him the next 2 games? Now, if you lose the next 2 games, the Bills are most likely going to win out. And since they've got the tiebreaker over you, they're going to win that number 1 spot. So you'd be probably number 2. That would be my guess in the standings if you lose both games. Now, you can put Winston and he could beat the Texans. They're beatable. I mean, you got potentially win 1 or maybe 2 of these games that's coming up without Mahomes. And then you get Mahomes back, rested, ready for the playoffs. I don't know if you guys have a thought on what y'all think they should do. I think you should just sit him, but
sit him and take your risk. You've already been winning games, luckily, as it has been through this whole season. Enough where people are saying that the refs are part of the Chiefs franchise. I mean,
even the NFL morning show made fun of that.
Yeah. If you're going for Super Bowl or bust, which we all believe they are, you're already in the playoffs. you're already in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
You need Mahomes in the playoffs because Carson Wentz is not going to win you a Super Bowl. It's not going to happen. He could maybe win
Couldn't
you
even
a
do it with
game.
Philly.
No, he couldn't. He may be able to win a game, or maybe wouldn't that be the irony if Wentz ended up helping them win the Super Bowl because Mahomes was hurt and did it as the backup.
That would be the ironies of ironies.
He did it with Andy Reid, the former Eagles coach. Yeah,
Right.
irony. But that's not going to happen. But anyways, you need him for the playoffs. You've already secured a playoff spot. You need him in the playoffs. They've already proven that they can win as a lower seed. They don't need the number seed. You need to be in the play. You're already in the
they
playoffs.
went on the road last year and just ran through everybody.
You need Mahomes. If you don't have Mahomes, they don't have a chance. Rest him now. Wentz might fall into a victory and get you a win, and that's great. But you need Mahomes in the playoffs. Rest him. Set him down. Let him rest the rest of the season, and then bring him back first round of the playoffs, healthy and good.
Well, they could put him in week 18 even, if they wanted to.
No. Set him out the whole time. Bring him in week 1. He doesn't need the warm up. It's not like you're coming into the season like you haven't played all season long. He's fine.
Yeah.
He's Patrick Mahomes. He'll be all right.
I know they proved obviously last year that they don't need home field to win the playoffs, but I mean, I don't think he's going to play this weekend because I simply just don't think he's healthy, and he probably won't even play Wednesday just because of the short, or on Christmas Day just due to the short turnaround. But if he's able to play, I play him because, again, yes, you did win, or you have shown that you can win on the road in the playoffs and get to the Super Bowl and win it. But I just think if he's healthy, do whatever you can to secure that number 1 seed. If he is capable.
They don't need. You risk injuring him long term. If you lose him and he's out for this rest of the season,
I'm not saying pushing him back, but if he's healthy and ready to go, I'm not saying he will be this weekend or even again on Christmas Day.
Mm-hmm.
But
sit him. You got no other reason. You don't need to. You're fine. You're fine.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I agree with Porter, I should say. But
we're all fine.
We'll see.
Rest.
I mean, as we joked about, they put Mahomes out there on a bad ankle, and we made that Mahomes meme with that face where he's just laying on the ground like shortly after. So Chiefs may just not give a fuck.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's time to go ahead and wrap up the NFL. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be back here in just a few moments with the next round. And welcome back from the break, as it's now time for the next round as we're ready to get into college football. And we've got the college football playoffs looming coming up this weekend. But before we get into that, this last Saturday, Army Navy ended up happening. And Army coming in ranked.
Did it happen? I don't think Army showed up.
Army is still in my from this game because Navy came out with a vengeance. Oh, this was. It was a rough watch. It really, really was.
It was. There was a lot of turnovers by Army too, which is not something they normally do, but they did this game pretty much all night long.
Oh, it did. With Navy coming out 31-13 win. Navy was leading 14-7 at the half, but just continued to pour it on. Army couldn't get touchdowns, just field goals throughout the second half, and it was Navy's game. They were all over them, and they came out to play. The Jolly Roger really helped them out. I know I was talking trash about last time. Well, I wasn't talking trash about it. I just kept thinking the Navy keeps trying to do too much. Like, I like their uniforms, but it just feels like
they look pretty clean on field, while Army's looked a little boring to me actually on the field. But yeah, I mean, 3 interception by, I mean, arguably potentially a Heisman candidate if he wasn't at Army, Bryson Daly. He's had a phenomenal year. And then 2 more fumbles, one by Daly and one by Robinson for Army. I mean, to me, that was basically the game. Like, they couldn't get anything going because of the turnovers. Maybe just smother them.
It almost looked like Army overlooked this game, looking over to their bowl game, and this is the game of the year for Army Navy, and you can't for either of these.
This is like Ohio State, Michigan, for these 2 guys.
It is, and to me, it looked like Army was like, okay, we're ranked. We're gonna walk over Navy. Let's get to the bowl game and let's see what we can do.
Yeah,
that's what it seemed like to me.
We're like, Army is gonna have no problem with Navy. Is what we thought. Like, their defense has gone downhill. The offense for Army just looked unstoppable.
It did.
Army looked much better in the Notre Dame game than Navy did for sure. But yeah, they just didn't show up pretty much.
Yeah,
I love the prisoner exchange though. Before the game with Army wearing the ACC champ on the back of their coats as well. But also a very cool little, I guess, salute to the troops. If you haven't seen it, I'd recommend looking at it or watching it.
That was a very cool experience. I missed part of this game because I was taking care of some chores around the house that had some to-do list things I needed to take care of. But yeah, it did a good. I mean, not the way that we expected to go. I actually picked Army. I was going for that, but I'm happy either way. Army, either way, it's okay. But I was really kind of disappointed that Army just kind of mailed it in on this game.
Yeah, I was really disappointed too. But I think to me, what this showed is that I don't like how this game is scheduled now. I understand that you want to have Army Navy be the only game that for the week to where it has its own exclusivity, but these teams are in a conference now. Army already played a conference championship game, and then you're going to have to ask. You're asking them to play another game on top of that. A huge game like Army Navy, and to respond and be fully ready to go. I just think that's awfully tough to do. And this team looked like it was very, very tired to me. And Navy just ran all over them. And Army just looked like a team that just got off a championship win and was on their 13th game of the year. Why is this not a conference game either? Even they're in the same conference. This is not considered a conference game. I think this season,
if you're going to keep it as this way, it needs to be the last game of the season before the championships. Now that they're in the same championship, it needs to be the last game of the season. Basically, kind of like what they did with Texas A&M.
Correct. That's exactly
there. But at the end, it doesn't need to be on its own. You can have it still be the primetime game. You can still have it at noon, 3 o'clock. People are going to tune in.
Yeah, or have it at night. Wherever you want to have it, just have it be the only game at the time.
At the prime, you can still make it be the last game of the season for both schools and make it a primetime game easily. That's fine. You could, I mean, that can happen, but it does. I agree with you. It needs to happen before the championship games. It doesn't need to happen after the championship games. I mean, if both teams, like before both teams were in a conference, I understand. Yeah, you could just, it didn't matter at that point. But when you have one of them ranked and both of them were ranked at some point during the season, they've actually had some really good teams. That it's a disservice to these players. Let them play this game before before the conference championships.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's the main problem I had with this game. It is very frustrating to see because I think we could have had a much different result than what we actually got.
All right. Well, now moving on into the college playoff. We're going to be skipping over the bowl games because, to be honest, there's way too many, and they honestly just don't matter anymore now. I mean, they matter for your team. If that's your team, enjoy it. You get one more game, but as of right now, it's the 12 team playoff that we're going to be concerned about here with college football. On Friday, you have your first game with Indiana heading over across the state to Notre Dame. And putting this on a Friday, I like that they're going ahead and getting this game out early. Notre Dame would take Notre Dame. That's why it's always on NBC. There's huge Notre Dame fan base. It's going to dominate with everything. And to put it on Friday evening, go ahead and do it right there. That way it takes precedence over all the other games that are going to be going on Saturday. They're kind of giving it its own spotlight.
And, yeah, that would be awesome if I actually cared who won that game.
Well, we know your disdain and hate for Notre Dame. We know this. This is a well-recorded fact. In Indiana, when they went up against Ohio State, they got exposed. And as much as I wanted Indiana to win this game, it proved to me that they're a good team. They're not a great team, and I just don't see them being able to overtake Notre Dame. Notre Dame has had great rush attack all year long. I mean, their coach is up for possibly getting, hired on to an NFL job. Defense looked good. Notre Dame should easily take this game.
See, I just think you're wrong there. Like, to me, Notre Dame is the same problem that Indiana had. Like, anytime they've gone up against great teams, they've shrunk. Like, they're a middle of the pack team. So is Indiana. This game is going to be a lot closer, I think, than people feel like.
No. It may be close, but they're not going to win. Indiana's not going to win. It's not going to be.
I mean, when you're close, it's a toss-up, man.
Game. At close,
I'm thinking it's going to be a fight battle, and who knows what can happen when it's close.
It's going to be a two-score game minimum.
2-3 score. Yeah, that's what it's going to be. Like I said, Notre Dame's not running away with this by any means. I think that Indiana defense is a little better.
7. It's not going to be that, but it's going to be minimum 2-score game.
2 score? No, not 2 scores.
2-score game.
No,
minimum 2-score game.
No, minimum. I'll bet you a gentleman's bet of $1 for that.
I'll bet
I think
you
Indiana's defense is. We've never seen Trading Spaces, have you? But then
it's been a minute.
I don't know. The Indiana defense, I think, is just better than people think. And I think Indiana is going to keep this close, and they may potentially win. This is like a field goal win, I think, for Notre Dame, maybe.
This is your Notre Dame hate showing. That's what this is.
It is highly probable.
it is not highly probable. That's exactly what it is. Don't sit here and try to negate it back. No, you hate Notre Dame. Just say it. Say, I hate Notre Dame. I want Indiana.
I hate Notre Dame.
There you go. That's all you need to say.
They're one of the most overrated teams in the college football.
I hope they make it far just to rub your nose in it.
Oh, I know, right? Yeah. If they do, I'm just gonna be sitting and mulling if they do. I'm just gonna be like, yes. I gotta hear about this.
No,
if they win, which each win, it'll be like, all right, Caleb, and now for the Notre Dame update, Caleb.
Right.
They won. Mm-hmm. Not happy.
To me, it's indicated that Indiana can beat anyone worth of consequence. I mean, when you look at their schedule, they were tested one time.
Yeah, their strength of schedule is pretty dang weak. I'll give you that.
Mm-hmm.
Their one test was Ohio State, and they got obliterated.
But I mean, you look at Notre Dame. Who are you saying? Louisville? That's their toughest test. You got blown out by Northern Illinois.
Well, they didn't get.
Or you got beat by. You didn't get blown out. So I mean, where's the strength of schedule there too?
That was a bad loss.
Well, they went to A&M and won.
That's A&M. A&M is not a good team.
Hey,
they had a good season.
As much as my family tries.
If we're gonna look at Indiana, what's their best win?
A&M's just not good. They're not.
Okay, but Indiana, they haven't done anything yet.
They have. That's what I'm saying. Both these teams are in the same boat. Neither one has a great strength of schedule. They have not been challenged. Well, except for Indy State and got blown out, obviously. These are both middle of the pack teams. And that's why I think it's going to be much closer than people think. Just because Notre Dame's 11-1 and they're like, oh, Indiana got blown out by the super stud Ohio State team and Ohio State lost to Michigan, that makes Indiana look that much worse. These are very similar teams, and they're going to be very close together.
Notre Dame played higher quality teams than Indiana did.
Who?
You look at
Louisville, A&M.
Look at the strength of schedule. That's better. They played better teams than what Indiana did. Just in my opinion.
I know it's your opinion.
But I think they played better schools. They
were
tested more by better schools, and they had a better record at the end. And in Indiana, I just don't. Like I said, it'll be close. It will be close, but it's going to be a 2-score game, and I think they'll win 10 to 14 points minimum.
And you have to remember, Notre Dame, they played Army and Navy when they were both ranked.
Yeah, but we know what they are now. They're not that great of teams.
Oh, because Notre Dame kicked their ass, that means they stink?
I'm just saying, the competition's not there. Like, you're talking about Notre Dame's strength of schedule is 57. Indiana is 67. That's pretty damn close.
Okay, but I think you have to give credit for Notre Dame for just...
You're not going to change his mind. His Notre Dame hate is fully strong. It is burning bright like the fire. like
the fire burns deep.
If he held up the shillelagh, it would be just lit on fire right now. What it is. So we're go ahead and move on.
Let's just go to the next one.
We'll go into the next game, and we'll be starting on Saturday, the noon game. You got SMU at Penn State. And as excited as I am about this game, excited I am for you to make it. SMU's not gonna have a chance against Penn State. I mean, I wish they would. If they upset Penn State, I'll be extremely happy. I'll happily eat the crow, but I just don't see it happening, especially the way SMU showed up against Clemson in the ACC championship. I just do not see this as a possibility for SMU to beat Penn State.
No, yeah, I agree with you. The Ponies. They've had too many games where you're just like, what's going on? The Duke game with 6 turnovers. I mean, Penn and Clemson ran them out of the buildings when they finally faced a big line. So I think Penn State's line is going to be the talk of the story. And I expect SMU to keep this close because they did come back on Clemson. But I also think this is the game that you could have a 2-score win by Penn State.
Oh, easily. Easily you could. And I don't think SMU will go away. Like, they're not going to lay down and just take it.
Yeah.
They'll fight and battle back. I just don't think they have enough. Like, they have the dog in them to fight. The dog's not big enough to win this one, unfortunately. I hope they do. I hope SMU
for sure.
I will be extremely happy if they do. I'm not rooting against SMU by any means. I'm pulling for them. But I just don't see it happening. Penn State's just too big. They just have better quality. They have just higher echelon players. It's just it's a David Goliath match to me. And I don't see that happening. But I'll happily eat crow if SMU wins. Happily, I'll take second helping.
I want y'all to be wrong, but the reality is just I don't think that y'all are, because look, I think the main thing that we're going to see in the college football playoff, not just out of this Penn State SMU game, but I think we're going to see it when Boise State plays. I think we're going to see it when Arizona State plays. Is that, look, all these teams have great skill position players, and they can all play at a top level. But not all these teams have great offensive and defensive lines. And I think Penn State in the trenches is just going to just completely dominate SMU, similar to what Clemson did the entirety of 3/4 of
Like
that.
I was saying.
And so I just think that, look, I don't think SMU is just going to bend over and get their ass kicked like 42-7, but I think SMU is going to hang in there for a little bit, but I just think as time goes by, I just think Penn State's just going to continue to just probably run the ball all over SMU, and I don't think SMU has an answer for it.
Agreed.
Yeah. So from there, we'll move on to the 4:00 game, the game that is really grinding Caleb's gears, even more than Notre Dame.
Can't be when the Baltimore Steelers play. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, this is just the sand in your underwear right now.
Which is
Clemson and Texas. They're at 4 p.m., of course, the same time as the Steelers and Baltimore. Caleb will be wearing out his previous channel button. Hey, this is a game where you two need to just go out to Desperados or somewhere and go sit down and ask the bartender to put them on two different TVs so you can watch both at the same time. That's the only legitimate
something
course to handle on Saturday. That really is the only legitimate way to go.
It'll be something crazy. We have to figure out something.
Get out to B-dubs, get out to Pluckers, get somewhere where you could have a bunch of TV. You need a sports bar. You need to have a cold drink, possibly some buffalo wings, and just sit down and enjoy some football. That's what you need to do.
You're not
I'm jealous. Yeah. Jealous as hell.
Sports bar day.
Yeah, but Texas should literally wipe the floor with Clemson. I'm sorry, but
they should.
This is going to be a blowout, I think. Clemson, I don't think, can stand up to an actual SEC team or an ex-Big 12 team, whatever you want to call Texas, because it's their first year. I don't know. Like I said, there's not much to this to me. I mean, Clemson's just – sorry, Clemson. You got lucky you beat SMU. You got in the playoffs. Here's your participation ribbon. Sorry, you got to go home.
Thank you for knocking Alabama out of the playoff. We appreciate your
that too.
Now go sit back down at the table.
Yeah, back to the kiddie table.
I agree. Texas should wipe the floor with them. The thing that scares me, though, is Quinn Ewers in the second half. Second half, Quinn Ewers scares me.
I mean, you got a right to be scared, but this is not Georgia. This is Clemson.
I understand, but at the same time, I don't want them playing down to their opponent. Because Texas has the chance to go from this game to playing Arizona State to going right, moving right up very quickly. They have a very favorable setup in this playoffs, format to make it far. But I don't trust Quinn Ewers anymore. But speaking of Quinn Ewers, reports came out earlier today that Oregon is trying to sway him away from going into the NFL draft and hitting the transfer portal to come out. And, I mean, there's also talk of other schools that'd be interested into him.
Well, of course they are. He's a good college quarterback.
He's going
to be a backup in the NFL, but he's a good college quarterback.
With the reports of him falling out of the top 4 quarterbacks going in, it may interest him in actually staying in college football, making money, and seeing if he can improve his draft stock. I don't blame him for that, but he cannot do it for the Longhorns anymore. They cannot go a third year with him. And I know he's had some injuries, but just his underplay, where they've lost to Georgia twice this year, first as the number 1 seed and second, as the number 2 seed. He can get them over the hump. He just can't do it. So, yes, Quinn Ewers, he can't be at Texas anymore. Sark will lose the fan base, the boosters. he'll lose if he lets Arch Manning walk, there's no coming back from that. You're not going to be able to win back without winning like multiple championships. And he's built a good system, as we talked about. He's got, they're reloading like Alabama does, but
yeah, I got to eat my crow on that.
Right now is the prodigal son that you need to have out there. You need to. It's too long. Okay, everyone understood. Okay, we'll give Quinn Ewers one more year. We'll get it. We got it. Okay, he did a great year. That you make the push.
Yeah,
but you can't do it again. You cannot do it again. You can't sell this to the UT fan base.
No, I agree.
So if Quinn Ewers wants to go play somewhere else and forego and up, hey, that's good for him. If he go win another school, I'm not going to hate on him for doing that. If he goes to Oregon, I'm not going to boo him for it. Mm-hmm. Arch needs to be starting for the Longhorns next year. And
very true.
It's Quinn Ewers' choice. If he either goes draft or transfer portal, that's where it has to be. No matter what happens this year, whether they win the championship or not, that's what needs to happen, period.
Right. It's the only option is, I mean, we're talking about Quinn Ewers' final games at Texas. Again, I think he'll probably end up going into the draft, but if he transfers, then that's also a possibility. But going back to this game,
the best.
Yeah. Going back, seriously. I mean, it's not like Quinn Ewers was a total disaster at Texas. I mean, he got Texas back to the college football playoff. He was a very solid quarterback. It's just like very rarely are you in a situation where you're competing against someone against the likes of an Arch Manning, but just that's the reality of the situation. But going back to this game really quickly, do we give Clemson any kind of chance of winning this game?
Only if Texas plays down to their competition.
Yeah, which they kind of have at times.
If it's a one-score game at halftime, I'm talking like if it's 21-14 at halftime, Texas, watch out. I'm going to be worried if it's a one-score game. If it's a 17-14 or 10-7 game at halftime, I'm going to be worried. Texas needs to come out. They need to hit it. They need to hit the gas pedal hard. They need to score quick. The defense needs to come out swarming. They need to blitz the hell out of Clemson from the very beginning. Give no consistent pressure, no recourse, just after it from the beginning. They need the gas pedal hard and just go from that point on. Finish. Texas needs to come out and make this a statement game.
Yeah.
Right. They need to come out and rock it and build that momentum and then ride that momentum to the playoffs. That's what they need to do.
Right. I think what's going to help out Texas in this game is that Clemson's running back Phil Maffa, he's been battling knee issues, and they've told him that he's going to have surgery at the end of the season, but he's going to play through it. And so really, in my mind, you're kind of a one-dimensional team with Cade Klubnik, who's had a great year, but that's against ACC competition. Anytime he's been against SEC competition, he's struggled. South Carolina, Georgia. He even struggled against Louisville. And so I just when you make a team like Clemson, who's already strapped offensively, make them even more one-dimensional. It's really, even with Quinn Ewers and his struggles at times, it's just really hard to envision that Clemson could really do much against this Texas defense, because this Texas defense is elite.
Very true.
Unless they play Georgia.
They played.
It's true. It's true. They can't beat.
You're not wrong. That's their boogeyman.
Anyways, let's go ahead and go to the last game on Saturday. It's going to be Tennessee at Ohio State, and Tennessee needs to change their uniforms up to look like Michigan, as the joke I said last week. They need to do that if they, you know.
Yep.
I've seen a bunch of different like Ohio State podcasters and everything, and they're all praying that Tennessee wins this game because their worst fear is that Ohio State wins and ends up winning the national championship, and that Ryan Day is their quarterback for the prolonged future, because they know that if he wins the championship, he'll be extended, and they will continue to lose to Michigan every year because he does not know. Michigan is his boogeyman, and he cannot win.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be the trade-off for Michigan. I mean, you haven't even sniffed a championship at Ohio State for a long time now. So I mean, do you take the championship and like, hey, we're best team in the nation, or do you like, I just fucking want to kill Michigan? That's what's going to come
Honestly,
down to essentially. But
from
I don't think
people
Ohio
who I
State
know
does
who
either.
are
in
Ohio
all
State
honesty.
fans, they would take a win over Michigan than a national championship, especially after losing 4 years in a row. Right now, they could lose every game all next year as long as they beat Michigan. They'll all be drunk
So
in Columbus.
basically, if Ohio State pulls a Michigan next year, they'll be happy.
Basically, the championship would mean something if the championship meant, okay, next year we get to, if we win the championship but we're terrible next year and we get to beat Michigan, it's worth it.
Mm-hmm.
The beating Michigan is more important than the national championship to Ohio State fans.
Right. Just like Duke basketball. It's just like, yeah, Ohio State, if you win the national championship, but yeah, there's going to be an asterisk on the season because you still lost to Michigan. And I guarantee, and things are so toxic in Columbus right now. 100% of the population in Columbus wants Ryan Day to be fired. And
Yep.
as you alluded to, their people are hoping he loses this game just so they don't have to deal with Ryan Day anymore, which is very, very sad. And it's almost to the point where, yeah, you get to play your home game at the Horseshoe, but when your fan base is actively cheering against your head coach, you almost would rather want to be on the road and get a break from all that. I just think that
They were very close to being on the road.
Yes, extremely close. They were, yeah, the final seed away. But just looking at this game, Ohio State, I just think the talent discrepancy is such to where I don't think Tennessee really can do much of anything against this Ohio State front four. I think it's going to be extremely difficult for Tennessee to be able to get in a rhythm offensively. I think Jack Sawyer and the rest of that defensive line for Ohio State is going to wreak complete havoc on Amaleva, their quarterback, and I just don't see how Tennessee could consistently generate plays in this game. And I think Ohio State wins this game fairly easily.
I wouldn't be
agree with
surprised if won easily, but also I wouldn't be surprised if Tennessee snuck one out.
Sure, because every time Ohio
I would
State
not be surprised at all because Ryan Day, we saw what happened after the Michigan game where he just kind of sat back and let the teams all fight, and he didn't take control of his team. Ryan Day is a freaking puppet. Fuck him. And as happy as I would be to let Ohio State suffer longer with him as their head coach, no, I wouldn't be surprised if Tennessee snuck a win out here, knocked him out, and then he gets canned literally the next day.
He'll be fired on Sunday or Monday if they lose that game to Tennessee. Probably Sunday. And I think that I should have lost my train of thought.
And he'll be fired on Sunday because he sucks. And Columbus will not allow this to happen. They're just gnawing at the bit to let him go. His days are numbered in Columbus.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I think, and again, going back to why Ohio State might lose this game, look at the tests that they've had. I think Michigan, getting over the hump against Michigan was a test, regardless of how horrible Michigan was. They lost that game. Oregon, another test. They lost. Penn State had to gift them that game to win in Happy Valley. And no, I'm not going to say Indiana's a test because I don't think there were a test for Ohio State. I don't think that Indiana is very good. So I feel like any time Ohio State's been tested, it's been a real struggle.
Yep, I agree. All right, well, the only other games going on Saturday are games that Caleb gives no shits about, so I expect no commentary for him on these. But the FCS championship games, you have South Dakota and against Montana State, and the reigning champion Jackrabbits is South Dakota State against North Dakota State Buffaloes. And what my whole thing is how the FCS has been taken over by these Upper Plains schools, which, yeah, we've seen when they come in, this used to be the Appalachian States, they'd come in, maybe, they've come in and gotten beaten by, top quality schools, such as South Dakota State this year, where they showed up and, what was that? I didn't write it down. My apologies for taking bad notes, but who is it they played early in the season and got waxed by?
Oklahoma State.
Mm-hmm. But at the same time, they're back in the playoffs. San Diego State's going for their South Dakota State's going for their third straight FCS championship. And it's just surprising that every year it's these high-playing schools that are doing it. Like, none of the other schools in the FCS can even hold up to them. They keep getting it's always North Dakota State, South Dakota State, and for this year, South Dakota and Montana State in with it as well.
Yeah.
Commentary you have on this, Jeff, because I know Caleb is just gonna poo-poo on this. So bring your shit corner.
I just think it's not only great to see not only South Dakota State, who's a perennial contender and champion last year, but we also get to see the University of South Dakota in there as well, not just South Dakota State. So both South Dakotas are represented. Shockingly, the Montana Grizzlies are not represented this year, but the Montana State Bobcats are. These are semifinal games, and I'm anticipating another Montana State South Dakota State final, and Mr. Caleb, you know where that game's going to be played at, even though I know you don't care. You happen to know where that game will be played.
Where? Tell us, Jeff. I'll let you tell us.
Frisco, Texas, as Texas been the home of the FCS championship, and I don't know how many times over these past, I would say, 10 years when I've seen North Dakota State fans in Plano and Frisco and Allen all congregate, and they enjoy the warm weather this time of year. So
I think you guys should get tickets to that game, and some video shots that we could put up on our social media.
I would love to get tickets.
I think you guys should go get some video clips. Go add to that. That would be an awesome game.
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind going to that. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, why not? You guys got no excuses.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Besides cash.
Well, I pulled for South Dakota State because my brother-in-law lives is right outside Sioux City, South Dakota. So, or Sioux Falls, actually, Sioux Falls, right outside Sioux Falls with South Dakota State. So they've been to a couple of games out there, and yeah, we've been out there too. It's been a good time. So go South Dakota, go Jackrabbits.
Go
Hey.
Rabbits, yes.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go ahead and take
Get
a
your
quick
third.
break here, and we will be back here in just a few moments for the next round.
That's good. That's good. Man, that's good. That's what you call gumbo. Poor man gumbo.
And welcome back from the break as we're ready to hit the last round, the sports gumbo. And Caleb, now you wanted to get in some Heisman talks. We missed it there in the last segment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so as most of us know, the Heisman went to Travis Hunter. Just been playing him up all year. I think it's a worthy Heisman. This was honestly a 2-horse race. You got Jeanty and Hunter. Jeanty finished second in the voting by about 700 points, according to the system, with Gabriel and then Cam Ward following up for third and fourth. There's been a lot of talk about Ashton Jeanty getting robbed, though, so some of it did pique my interest, where you've got the facts of, okay, Hunter played all these snaps. He's probably a top 3 wide receiver, top 3 running, or top 3 cornerback. Can you name 3 better? Well, yeah, you can. You can name 3 better cornerbacks. You can name 3 better wide receivers. Can you name a better running back this year? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, this guy is going against one of the greatest running backs of all time in Barry Sanders, and he is almost beating that record. And if he played probably those 8 more quarters, he probably would already have this record and potentially have the Heisman as well. So maybe the coach kind of jinxed him. Maybe he's like, you could use it as fuel when we get to the playoffs, whatever. But I want to give a little bit of comparison here because you got Ashton Jeanty in 2024 compared to Reggie Bush's 2005 Heisman stats. Both have played 13 games. Jeanty has 344 carries compared to 200 for Bush. Then, of course, the yards, 2,497 for Jeanty, 1,740 for Bush. Rushing touchdowns, 29 to 16. That's a crazy difference. Yards per carry are pretty close, 7.3 for Jeanty, 8.7 for Bush, 192 yards per game, 133 for Bush yards per game. So, I mean, they're very close. Like, I don't know. It makes me think that Jeanty did get robbed. Like, I mean, Hunter is fascinating. He plays all these snaps, but just because you're fascinating doesn't mean you're the most important person on your team. Jeanty got his team to the playoffs. Colorado had a shot, and they lost to Kansas. So, I mean,
well, to me, and I agree with everything you're saying. I agree. To me, Jeanty was a Heisman winner. That's who I would have picked. But we live in a world where Shohei Ohtani changed the way people look at MVPs. And bring a baseball
from a baseball standpoint,
someone who plays offense and defense and does it at a high quality. And to me, Travis Hunter did that. He did it at a high quality. Yes, were there some guys that were a little bit better than him? Yes, but he was at a high quality in both positions, which makes me think, okay, if he would have been just a full offensive player, if he'd have gone full wide receiver, what could he be? He could have demolished everybody. If he gone full cornerback, what could he have done? I think he would have demolished everybody.
Yeah.
But he decided to do both. So being out on the field all the time, I think that really wore him down to where he wasn't able to really show his full quality all the time. So I think the Shohei Ohtani factor of the factor that he could play high quality at both positions helped with that. If Shohei Ohtani hadn't been doing what he had been doing in baseball and giving that and I know it's a different
Yeah,
sport.
That's
It's
a little
different
rut.
sport
That's a
completely.
reach, I feel like.
No, it is not a reach because it's
I feel
done.
like it's a reach.
No, it is not a reach because it is shown that in a sport somebody can play offensive defense at a high level on both sides and
We've
win.
seen that on
Listen.
Deion Sanders, and the last defensive player to win the Heisman was
And
Woodson,
Deion
who was a
Sanders-
two-way
Yes,
player.
and how long ago did that happen? How long ago did that happen? Now, I'm talking about recent future of where it's been shown, hey, this is more of a reason why it could
Let's
happen.
not forget about
Now,
Bo
it
Jackson,
didn't
too.
hurt that Deion Sanders was his
Bo
coach
knows.
who was able to do that, which shows he was able to mentor him because Travis Hunter is more athletic than Shedeur Sanders is. Way more athletic. And he proved that. And I think Deion being his coach helped him in that aspect because Deion was able to do it what needed to be done to be that good in both sides of the ball. So I think he had the right coach. It was the right player for the right coach to do that. I'm not hating on him getting the Heisman because good for him. I just think that Gentry got robbed because I think he was the better player at his position. But the fact that Hunter was a great player at two positions helped him. And because of that,
Well, I think you
No,
got the
you
wow
haven't
factor
seen
there
that.
for sure.
you have
I mean, you
not
got the
seen
wow
that
factor.
since Shohei Ohtani did it in baseball here recently. You have not seen that happening. So because of that, I think that helped bring that out in people's aspect. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, I think there's definitely a wow factor with the both ways thing. But I mean, this is a
Yes, and that wouldn't
historic season.
It is a historic season, but it wouldn't have been as much of a wow factor if Shohei Ohtani hadn't done it here recently with baseball. Yes, it's a different
I'm
sport.
tired of Ohtani. What do you got, Jeff?
You do it in any sports, it transfers to other sports. It always happens. It's that wow factor of playing both sides. That doesn't happen. So someone hasn't done it in football for a long time. Okay, now it has happened. Oh, it's recently in our mind for Shohei. Shohei's been so good, so we need to go with it. That's how people who aren't huge fans of the game think.
Mm-hmm. What do you got, Jeff? I know it's your boy Hunter, so where's the stats to prove he deserves it?
The Fred Biletnikoff trophy that is to the best wide receiver in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Hunter won that.
Shouldn't have, but yeah, okay, I got you. Go for it.
Hey, boy.
I know. Keep going.
Who would have been it?
You keep going.
The
We'll
kid
get
from
into
San
that later.
Jose State. That's who
keep going.
should have won it.
Oh,
Yeah,
stop.
that would definitely be a top one.
Mountain West is the only conference that deserves awards, apparently. But Ben Derrick Award goes to the best defensive player in the country. Who won that award? Travis Hunter did. Who won the Walter Camp Award, who's the best player elected by several college football coaches? Travis Hunter won that award. Travis Hunter also won the Ronnie Lott trophy. I mean, I could go on and on and on. The guy.
Okay, I mean, these are the same people that voted for Heisman, so I mean, congratulations. They just kind of doubled down their vote. Where are the stats? Tell me why. Tell me why he's better than San Jose State receiver. Tell me why. Not awards. Like, congratulations.
No, because he's done it against.
I mean, he's got 14 touchdowns. That's awesome.
Better competition, and he's playing defense at the same exact fucking time. This guy.
There's the Shohei Ohtani factor. He
Quiet about
plays
Ohtani.
the other side of the ball.
Well, he doesn't just play it. He's the best in the game at it.
Oh, that might be a stretch. I mean, he's one of the top cornerbacks.
The
But
top
I don't know if
in
he's
both.
the best.
I'm not hating on
Congratulations
the guy.
on getting the award,
Like,
but
I'm not. I don't think he's not a bad guy or a bad player on either side of the ball. I think he's a great player on both
right,
sides of the
I
ball.
agree with you.
I think he's great on offense. I think he's great on defense. And that's what I think won him the Heisman, is that he's great on both. I don't think he's the best on both. I just think he's great on both.
Right.
And it's just
I could agree with
hard.
that.
it's just showing that means more to voting than a great season at only one position.
I can
That
understand
shows if
great,
you can-
but historic.
This is showing being great at two positions, offense and defense, is better than a historic season at one position. That's what this shows.
Apparently, I mean, it also shows why the Heisman Trophy, I think, has become not as highly ranked as it has been in the past.
Well, how many Heisman Trophy winners have been taken number one overall if they're not a quarterback?
That's what I'm saying. Like, a lot of them haven't even been drafted. So, I mean, the Heisman's
Because
like
it's
not
the
what it's
best
meant to
college football player at that time. That doesn't mean the best player that's going to contribute to the NFL is the best college football player.
be. That's what I'm saying. If we're saying the best player is Ginty, then why the hell isn't he? But like I said, I mean, I understand why the 100 votes. I get the Shohei Ohtani effect, as you like to do, and I mean, I understand. Like, I get it. I'm going to make the case for my boy at the same time, Ginty. But
No,
like, I get it.
and the whole thing is that I understand why Hunter got it. Like, I understand. I get it. I'm in the same boat as you. I think Ginty should have won it. I'm in the Ginty camp. I'm right here with you. I'm sitting here right next to you going, why the fuck did he not win it? Because this is a historic season that he's had. But I understand why Hunter got it. And he got it.
I agree with you 1,000%.
Of this reason. Like, I'm not degrading Hunter by any way. I'm not saying like he didn't deserve it. He did. He had a great season on both because he's great on both sides of the ball. But Gentry had such a historic season. It's like, how did you take it away from him? And this is the reason why. Because Hunter was so good.
Well, I think it's because Hunter was so good and also because he doesn't have the record now. If he had the record now, I think we would be talking Ginty Heisman.
Yeah. If he had taken the record from Barry Sanders, it would be very hard to give it away from him.
Agreed.
But the thing is, he didn't take the record away from Barry Sanders.
Oh,
yes,
you
you're
shut
correct.
up, you Hunter support you.
I just someone. I'll guarantee you this: someone from the University of Colorado is going to be taking number one overall. It's either going to be Shedeur or it's going to be Travis.
It's going to be the QB. Hunter's going to be a top 3 pick.
Whoever no pick will be a quarterback because the guy whatever team is going number one, whether it be Vegas or the Giants, needs a quarterback, and they will reach on the quarterback first. That's going to happen. So, yes, Shedeur Sanders will get picked over Hunter if that's who they decide to go with. But Hunter will be a top 5 pick. Should be a top 5 pick.
I agree.
The first team that doesn't need a quarterback, he should be the first.
Yeah,
the first round pick,
number one overall. But I think
the teams that need, I know you believe number one overall, but that's the thing is that the teams that are number one overall need a quarterback first.
Right, he could be the number one prospect, but he's not going to be the number one draft pick because
exactly
the need is usually not the defender.
If they needed a quarterback, they would take him. If it was Carolina, if Carolina lost 2 more games than they should have, then they would take him without a second thought. Because they already took Bryce Young, so why not? But it's going to be the Giants, it's going to be Vegas, who both are in terrible need of a quarterback. They need to take a quarterback. They can't just wait till the second round for that. They have to take it. So they're going to have to reach a quarterback at that point. Because you cannot win without a quarterback in the NFL. You cannot win.
And I mean, the latest draft stock, just since we're throwing draft picks out there, Ginty to the Browns after Chubb gets cut this year. So around 6th or 8th, I think, is supposedly where he's currently being mocked from what I've seen.
If the Browns decide to cut Chubb, then I will happily sign him for the Cowboys. I'll kick the tires on that without a second thought.
Even with the broken foot?
Without a second thought. It's
I
better
mean, you
than
at least
what
give
we
it a
have.
try for what the Cowboys backfield looks like right now.
I'm put him in. Put him into training camp. Let's see what we got. I'm happy to kick the tires on that. Nick Chubb with an injured foot is better than what they have now.
Well, we've been chatting Rico Dowdle, so but yeah, you need at least another. Yeah,
that was on my fantasy team. He's still Chubb is better. Better. I will absolutely kick the tires on Nick Chubb. Put him in. Bring him in. No problems. Come on.
Put him in, coach.
Bring him into Frisco. Come on. Come on down. Come on down.
Would you rather have Shedeur or Bryce Young?
Can we get off the Hunter? But I mean, right now the Panthers are probably going to stay with Bryce Young no matter what.
That depends on.
You're going to get about 2 years of a QB. And Bryce Young at times has looked good.
Shedeur Sanders will get drafted before Carolina has a choice. And that's going to happen. And honestly, with Carolina, I think Bryce Young has been inhibited. I think he hasn't been used to his advantage. I think they've tried to pigeonhole him into their system instead of actually building the system around him.
That's highly possible. We've seen some of these bust first-round picks lately.
Yeah, because
new system, they look phenomenal.
I understand. I completely understand, the whole difference between college to NFL. But at the same time, to see what he did in college to then the way he is in the NFL, it doesn't look like the system has done anything to help. It doesn't look like they've done anything to help him in any way. And whether that's coaching, the way they're planning the games out, or whether the coaches don't know how to use him, or they're just using him incorrectly, just going, oh, he should be able to do this. I don't know, because I don't give two shits about the Carolina Panthers when it comes down to it. But to me, just as an outsider looking in, going, it doesn't seem like you're using this guy right. I mean, this guy's a Heisman Trophy winner.
The Heisman's not what it cracked up to be.
Not always. But there have been
recently
Heisman Trophy winners that have shown some success. Joe Burrow, for example, who has shown some success. And even though the team hasn't been winning, he's still been throwing for freaking 5 touchdowns in a game. I mean, come on.
That's one.
If it weren't for the rest of our personnel on defense and coach.
True. And I'm not in Bryce Young.
Bryce
Young also doesn't have an offensive line. But yes, he doesn't have Jamar Chase. He doesn't have T. Higgins. I mean, he used to have DJ Moore, but they got rid of him. I mean, he doesn't have anyone to throw to. I'll give you that. But Chuba Hubbard has a fantastic season up to this point. He's been running like hell. And how has he had a good season when Bryce Young has no one to throw to?
No.
I mean, come on. So that's why Carolina needs to go. They need to spend the money and get a good coach. They really need to bring a good staff in here. I think they have talented players. If you're able to play in the NFL, you're a talented player. If you're able to stay in the NFL, you're a talented player. They need to bring in a good coach, a solid coach. They need to bring in a solid coaching staff. They need to stick with them and not do what the Bears do, fire the coach every 2 years. You need to sit there and have somebody that builds a relationship with him, with Bryce Young. If this is who your guy is, build a relationship with him and actually stick with the guy and move forward and see how it goes, and not have the knee-jerk reaction after 2 years to fire everyone and then try to start from the beginning. That's what terrible
Well,
franchise.
I'm going to steal some of your ways because nobody cares about the Panthers. I'm going to segue here from the Heisman talk into coaching hires. As we know, Bill Belichick getting the North Carolina 5-year deal. He cannot opt out the first year. Or if he does, his buyout's like $3 million. But if he opts out after the first year, it's like $48 million a year or some whatever it is, some crazy hire. So North Carolina, he's probably there at least a year. But then after that, maybe we see him back in the NFL. Probably not. I think he stays there for at least 3, but we'll see how that goes. Michael Vick.
As my father-in-law said, North Carolina is the geriatric coach retirement home.
Yeah.
Matt Brown,
Bill
Belichick.
Mm-hmm. But then
I mean,
also Michael Vick going to Norfolk State University to be their head coach.
Norfolk State? I thought it was Sacramento State he was going to go to.
He was in talks, but it's Norfolk.
Well, good
but
for
going
him.
back, but going back to North Carolina though, who fires a 73-year-old to get a 72-year-old?
Maybe they wanted Belichick's girlfriend for recruiting.
That's possibility. That's a possibility. But at the same time, there was Pat McAfee, I think. Someone brought up to Bill Belichick, what would you I saw this right after this news came out of someone asked, apparently previously asked Bill Belichick, would you go to college ranks? And he had said, if I was going to go to the college ranks, I would build up a program where we're going to prepare people for the NFL. We're going to start from the beginning. We're going to build them up strength-wise, nutrition-wise. It's, education-wise. This is what you have to do to be an NFL player. If you're going to be an NFL player, this is the system you need to get yourself ready for, because right now the college system doesn't get these players ready for NFL systems. So we're going to set this up as an NFL system, basically almost like a semi-pro system, a minor league system that you come through here, come through my system, you're going to be able to go minor league. Basically, when you come out and you get drafted, you're going to be set up to go into the pros and go in and start, and not only start, but succeed. And with that coming out, like a lot of guys who, like Pat McAfee and other guys that were talking about, were like, well, if this system, if you got hired on, why wouldn't every other player who played under you be like, tell their son, hey, whatever school he's at and he's doing this, you need to go there, because this is going to get you ready to go. If you want to play football, this is where you need to go. And why wouldn't you? And with him being at North Carolina, and he does set up this system, or at least base it out, get this reason going, why else would he be going there? What else is getting Belichick going to go to North Carolina of all schools? I mean, come on. Unless he's going to build up, basically a minor league system of how to get players to go. Why else is he going to North Carolina when he could go to any NFL team? Why could he go to the Cowboys next year, or go to Tennessee, or what other teams in the NFL? What is the reason he's going to North Carolina of all fucking organizations? He's going to the North Carolina Tar Heels? Come on.
Well, he does have a little history there. I think his dad was a coach.
Still.
Come on.
What is the reason for him to go to North
Jimmy
Carolina?
Johnson was even like, he's the best coach, or one of the best coaches in the league right now, and why is he not in the NFL?
Exactly. And at his age, even 3 years at North Carolina, what's he going to do in the NFL after that? Why are you going? Why are you signing this? Because you're not going to get back in the NFL, and you're going to go ahead and start your legacy, finish your legacy here, where you're able to set up a system for the future of all of NCAA of how to build up players for the NFL.
It's possible.
That's how you build your legacy, and you do it at a school that is not known as a football powerhouse, which has their traditions and what everyone expects of them. So you're able to build something brand new onto a team or a school that doesn't have a football, something that are already like he couldn't do that at Texas because Texas expects to win the championship every year. We're not expecting to build players for the NFL. We want to win a championship. Same with Alabama. We want to win a championship. If we get players to go to the NFL, great for them, but we want to win a championship because we're Alabama. Roll Tide. North Carolina, they don't expect to win the championship every year. So you're able to sit there and build that system and build your legacy by showing that system and show that it works to then make it work for later on and improve football. I see where that can go, where his brain is going with that. He has to make it work, though.
Fair
That's
enough.
the thing.
Right. Also,
go ahead, Joe. What's your two topics?
No, I'm just really briefly going to say I think a big thing that's kind of underrated about this is the evolution of college football, where we're seeing these programs now, particularly in schools that have more of a primary focus on academics. When you look at Stanford and North Carolina, having these schools have GMs now. Andrew Luck, the GM of Stanford, he's going to be responsible for all the day-to-day stuff to where that's out of the coach's hands, unlike how it is at most of the schools. Michael Lombardi, he's going to be the general manager of North Carolina. So Bill Belichick isn't going to have to, focus on, nonstop recruiting and nonstop transfer portal stuff. They have people that will do that for them now. If it weren't for these general managers in college football, which I think is going to be a prerequisite for all these programs now, there's no way Bill Belichick would have taken this job.
Well,
okay.
That's not college football. We've talked about it too much. So let's
let me go with a baseball then for you.
Go to baseball. When does baseball
Yankees
season start again? I'm ready for baseball.
in the spring.
Primo.
As George Carlin said, when everything is blossoming, and football starts in the fall when everything is dying. Rest in peace.
Oh.
But anyway,
I'll wait till next
Yankees
year.
have landed Bellinger in a trade with the Cubs. They also get a guy named Cody Potet. So, I mean, he's a reliever, but Yankees do need bullpen help as well. So this is trying to take a little bit of the sting out of the Soto loss.
Bellinger helps. Bellinger helps. Cody Bellinger.
He's had a couple down years until this last year with the Cubs. So, I mean, hopefully he got himself right for himself, but screw it. If he's going to the Yankees, hopefully he sucks. Just because it's the Yankees.
True. I mean, he's a name. He's a name, and that's what they needed. After losing Soto, they needed a name. And Cody Bellinger is a name that they can bring back to the fan base and say, hey, we got somebody.
Yes. Then the Orioles signing Tomui Sugano. Sorry if I mispronounced your name, dude. 35-year-old from the Japanese league as a reliever. So we'll see how that turns out. The Cubs, busy, man. They traded for Astros All-Star Kyle Tucker. So he is now on the Cubs.
Did that last week? Yep. They've been very busy.
Yep. And then the Yankees again also getting an all-star closer from Milwaukee, Devin Williams. So they've got some of that bullpen help.
Williams looks great for the Brewers, and he's been an all-star. Yes. He's been very, very good, and Yankees bringing him in, that was huge. I mean, they had Weaver stepped up in the playoffs last year, but he looked like shit earlier in the year. And to me, which my father-in-law is a big Yankee fan, and we were talking about this the other day, and I compared Weaver this last season to Jose Leclerc of with the Rangers the year before. that he looked like shit all year, but he turned it on in the playoffs. Now, the only difference was the Rangers were able to win the championship, and Weaver didn't really get a chance to actually help the Yankees get a win because they were behind in every game. So, but it was a situation of that, and I go, yes, you do have Weaver, but do you trust him going forward? Because Leclerc this last year, we realized, he did great for the playoffs, but when it came to the regular season, he started the regular season as a closer, but immediately he was gone, and like, I'm ready to cut him. Like, I'm ready for him to be gone because he was knocked out of the closer role very, very quickly, and you barely saw him the rest of the Rangers season. I go, Ed, honestly, do you see the same thing with Weaver? Because I see the same thing. I go, he looks to me a whole lot like Leclerc did. He goes, yeah, I agree with you completely. I don't trust him, so I'm really glad we got this guy for the Brewers. So I was like, yeah, that was a step in the right direction for your franchise. It really was. It really was. You can't trust Weaver. You can't. You can hope, but hope doesn't win you championships.
Not wrong. But that's all I got for the Gumbo.
So yeah, that's my opinion there.
No, what I'm looking forward to is just seeing, because for people that do follow baseball and Devin Williams, they know about his ridiculous changeup in Milwaukee. But then when he's going to do this at a national level in New York, when everyone's going to be watching, this guy is the best. This guy might have the best changeup I've seen since Pedro Martinez or Trevor.
A lot.
I mean, this guy is such a great changeup. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does in New York, and
you'll see a lot more of his games. That's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, Jeff, what do you have for the Gumbo?
I'm going to talk a little bit about the Minnesota Timberwolves and the NBA. First off, we'll go ahead and start tonight for those who actually give a damn, which is, I don't think anybody.
No one.
No one cares that the Milwaukee Bucks have won the NBA Cup.
No one cares except for the NBA, which even though they weren't in Milwaukee, they were in Vegas playing this game, and there was confetti shooting all over the place, and Doc Rivers looking around like he just won the NBA championship. They had the shirts on. It was a complete stage show from the NBA of trying to make this into a legitimate thing. It made me want to vomit in my mouth watching it. It was absolutely absurd. There's no reason anyone should be celebrating this way halfway through the season. They have not won the championship. The NBA Cup is a farce. And there's absurd. Absolutely absurd. Done. I won't say any more about it.
So that happened tonight.
Like I said, I won't say anything more about it.
And I'll go ahead and actually start off with the Dallas Mavericks. To me, they've demonstrated that they're clearly one of the top 4 teams, not only in the West, but I would go as far as saying I'd say a top 4 team in all of the NBA as well. And I think that's really, you want to talk about Luka, obviously. You want to talk who's been off the charts. You want to talk about Kyrie. But I think the main, and even the addition of Klay Thompson, but I think the main asset for this team has been PJ Washington.
He's played outstanding this year. He has. I won't argue that.
And I think that he not only offensively has been able to contribute, but he plays defense well. He rebounds the ball well. And it's just amazing to see. And then you still have the combination of Lively and Gafford. Like these guys are just, I mean, this is just a perfectly orchestrated team. And you have to give Nico Harrison a ton of credit for this. I didn't necessarily think he was ready for a role like a GM, but I mean, he's been fantastic so far, and you have to give him a ton of credit. I mean, this PJ Washington deal, it wasn't a good deal for a season. It's been a great deal for the franchise and for, I think, years to come.
No, I completely agree with you on this. Mavericks currently sitting now 4th in the West, 3.5 games behind Oklahoma City. The first, they're actually tied with Houston, who is sitting just a game above them because of record-wise, but they're 3.5 games away. I mean, they are 12-2 in their last 14 games after beating Golden State a couple nights ago, 143-133. Just crazy offensive game. Which, I mean, they had 81 points at halftime. You know, they easily could have had 160 points. I mean, it was ridiculous watching this game. But Luka got hurt a few weeks ago, and even during that time, the Mavericks still were winning. Kyrie took the reins. And since Lucas has come back from the injury, they have been really shooting on all cylinders. They lost a couple of games here and there, but hey, what team is it? I mean, but right now, this is a team you don't want to see. They're playing very well, and they're gaining more and more confidence as they move along. A month ago, they weren't even in the playoff situation. They were the 9th seed, and they have won their way into the 4th seed. I would not be surprised them getting further up ahead. You know, that also depends on, I mean, Houston has played very, very well here, you know, beginning of the season. I don't know if Houston can keep this up.
I don't think so either.
And I give Dallas credit over that just because of the experience. And then, I mean, you got Oklahoma City, you know, leading up ahead. And Oklahoma City, you know, losing today to Milwaukee in the farce NBA Cup championship, whatever this bullshit is. But the Mavericks have beat the Thunder. The Thunder have also beat the Mavericks. I mean, the Mavericks aren't a team you want to match up with. I mean, it's going to be interesting as the season goes along. So I'm looking forward to it. Luka in this last game had 45 points, 11 rebounds, 13 assists. I think he had 3 steals. And the stats that he put up in this last game against Golden State, there's only been one other person who's either had the same stats or more, and that's been Michael Jordan.
It was an unbelievable line. I believe it was 45, 13, and 11 on Sunday night.
And watching this game, I was watching this game on the NBA League Pass, not to rub it in, but it was on NBA TV, but on which I didn't even need the League Pass for that because it's NBA TV on YouTube TV. But it was the Golden State broadcast that I had to listen to, and to listen to their devastation the entire first half of them going, how are the Mavericks doing this? They just, oh, wow, it feels like they had their first miss of the game. The Mavericks took the game like 14 out of 14 from the field. It was absurd. They ended up shooting 60, I think, through the third. They were 75% from the field. It was just absurd what they were doing. But it was such a close game. And even though it was a 10-point game, it was a close game because Golden State was shooting extremely well. It's just that Dallas was, in the words of the Golden State broadcasters, Luka is shooting like he has a, he's pissed at someone.
Yeah, because he usually
Mhm.
plays
Like, who pissed him off? Because he will not miss right now.
right.
Mm-hmm.
But it was
Yep.
an amazing, as a Maverick game, Maverick fan, it was an amazing game to watch.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
fantastic.
But yeah, that took a lot of what I was going to say here in the gumbo. So I'd like to let everyone know we will be off for the next couple of weeks for the holiday season, just because with the way Christmas and New Year's Eve is happening. So
Mm-hmm.
we're going to be spending that time with our families. Although Christmas Day, we will be all enjoying the Mavericks and Timberwolves playing.
So Wolves
Mm-hmm.
still
Boo.
Boo,
Mavs.
you. So
Mhm.
we will definitely break that game down whenever we get back. Either there'll probably be some games in between that will affect that, but that's the game we'll break down just because of the personal implications. But yes, we will be off the next couple of weeks, spend times with our families, enjoy that. So we hope you enjoy time with your family as well with the holidays coming up. And yeah, after we get back, we'll be talking about all of the college playoff games that have gone through. We'll have a lot of NFL action that we'll need to catch up on. So be ready to listen to a very, very long extended version once we're back and ready to broadcast. So please follow us on all of our social media platforms. Please let us know what's going on there. If these two guys here get out to the FCS championship game in Frisco, maybe they can give you a little information, some video footage from there. But other than that, thank you for listening to this year. We've really enjoyed it. We thank you everyone for listening, and we look forward to having you all join us next year in 2025. So for the last time in 2024, here's the last round. Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers.